Hello, my name is CraftySniper and I'm doing this quick video to show you the results of yesterday's match with this, my Aries Striker. Now, as you may or may not know, on the Facebook page, I've been putting up photos of the latest upgrades that I've added to this rifle. Now, as of a couple of weeks ago, basically from here on the rifle back was complete. All the stuff at the front was to be done. So we've now got the Action Army hop chamber installed, we've got a PDI W hole bucking installed, and we've got the brand spanking new dual bore, edgy dual bore inner barrel, which is a fantastically weird thing, but it works, absolutely works. So yesterday was the first day for me to take this rifle out and test it at an actual site, and I kind of got good results, and I had some whopping big problems. So anyway, let's go on to the whopping big problems. This rifle, at the start of the day, was just about lifting .4s and sending about 55 to 60 metres. .43s, yeah, not really. .45s, nope, just not going to happen. Wasn't picking them up. Now, I can put this down to a few things. One, it was pretty damn cold in the early hours of the match. It was -2 degrees yesterday morning in the UK at combat zone. And obviously hot bookings rely on friction. Friction is heat, no friction, no lifting heavy rounds. Also, it's a brand spanking new front end of the gun, so everything required to pick up that BB, lob it down the uber range that we snipers crave about, it just wasn't going to happen. And I probably should have known that. I mean, back of my mind I kind of did know, really. So yeah, a friend of mine lent me some longbow .43s, .45s. I had some ASG .4s and ASG .43s. ASG .4s, yeah, we was getting, like I say, some good results. Some shots would really go out there, and you just think, this rifle's got potential. And then most of the other shots, it's not got much of anything. The longbow BBs, not knocking the quality, they were awesome. But when they went into this rifle, again due to the cold and the fact it's a new setup, it's just not going to work. My ASG .43s, when I was testing it at the start of the day, again, it's kind of the same result as the longbow .43s, just wasn't really going to pick them up. That being said, I decided to take this rifle out with me on a match. What better way to test a rifle than actually test it against people that can potentially shoot back at me? It's all very well shooting at trees or targets or whatnot, but it's better to test it in an environment where this rifle is going to be spending most of its time. So, again, pretty damn cold. I didn't get quite so good results. I was working alongside a friend of mine who lent me the .43s and the .45s, who has a Tokyo Marui VSR-10, fully upgraded HPA sniper rifle. It's uber suppressed, it's uber awesome, and it has the uber range. And he was like adding another 25 meters to this rifle, and he was able to get very accurate results, unlike this rifle. When it did hit a target, they knew about it, but you know, I wasn't, as a shooter, guaranteed to hit the target, even though the rifle was pointing in generally the right direction. So, the first of my major issues reared its ugly head. I started having really massive feeding issues. You would have a couple of shots where the rifle would just start to put rounds out there. The temperature was starting to come up, so I was starting to get the benefit of a heated up hot bucking. And like I say, .4s I was running it on, and it was starting to flick them out there, and I was getting good 65, 70 meter shots. Not very accurate, but we was getting in the right direction. We were taking steps in the right way. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the shot would just go boom and just fall like 20 meters. The next shot, 20 meters. The next shot after that, 20 meters. And I'm like, well, something's really gone wrong. There's no hop. The BBs were just going up and just dropping straight down. Which made me think that my hop booking was split. You know, the hop chamber wasn't set right or anything along those lines. So I took the rifle away from the match. And as I was walking back, I saw the gun tech for Lincolnshire Airsoft Club, and we had a little bit of talking about the rifle, and he took a look at it, and it started to work for him, which was kind of annoying for me. But then we both realised that the cylinder head was unscrewing itself, and it had unscrewed itself to a point that the air was just going out of the sides, out of the threading of the cylinder head. A little bit of air was obviously coming out the front end again, But the problem is, when the cylinder head was unscrewing, it's going further forward. And now it's not sitting in the right position to impact the BBs in the correct way, the correct manner. So that's where my accuracy, I think, was going a little bit off on some of the shots. It was only starting to get worse and worse and worse, obviously, as the threading was undoing itself, or the head was undoing itself. So, took the rifle back to my car, stripped it down, took the cylinder out, retightened it back up again, did a few test shots, bang, rifle's working quite well. Now, by this point, it's lunchtime, the sun started coming up, you know, and it started to get quite warm. So I left this rifle out on a container in the sun so it could get some heat onto it. And then the magic started happening when I really started believing this rifle was awesome. It could start picking up my .43s, my ASG 43s. It was lobbing them out. Now I went during the lunch break onto a map called the Village, which has lots of little buildings. Now these buildings are surrounded on the bottom side by metal plates that are, I'd say, about a metre, probably less than a metre square. So I was able to aim at these metal plates and walk the rifle out to its maximum range. And I ran out of sight before this rifle ran out of range. And I was able to fire the .43s and hit that metal target. And because the metal target was red, I can watch the round all the way along, and I can tell that the hop was just needing a little bit more hop, a little bit more, a little bit less, you know, just dialing it in. And eventually I got the sweet spot of, I think it was about 67 meters I was shooting, and I was fairly certain on the shots that I missed the metal target, they were still going straight. So, you know, I think this rifle was shooting at that point over 70 meters, which is, like I say, going in the right direction. So I'm thinking, woohoo, brilliant, let's go out to another match. After lunch, take it out. Then the big problem hit. The cylinder and the bolt got stuck, and I mean stuck. It was about down here, and I couldn't move the bolt in or out. I couldn't move a thing. So yeah, something's massively gone wrong now, and I was in dire straits. So I took the rifle back to my car, and I took a look at it, and I just realised there's no way I can strip this gun down at a site. It needs a major strip down. Something cataclysmically has gone wrong. So I got home, quite annoyed, quite pissed off with this rifle, but you know, it's quite a simple rifle to work on, so I thought, right, then and there, I'm going to strip this gun down and I'm going to see what's gone wrong. I've got a fully upgraded cylinder kit. I've got, you know, the spring that came with it, I think, is rated for 450 FPS, so it's quite a potent spring. Obviously the trigger box, I'm guessing at that point that the cylinder is slightly buggered. Obviously the trigger box up there somewhere is obviously buggered. I'm thinking the worst. And when I took this all apart, basically I worked out that there was something rattling inside the cylinder. And I'm like, there shouldn't be anything rattling inside the cylinder, you know. And I shook it around a bit. There's some little holes in the cylinder, so eventually what was rattling dropped out. And I took a look at it and went, a little tiny piece of metal, it looked like a tooth. And I'm like, I know where that's come from. So with the cylinder out, you can see in these guns where the sears sit, the trigger sears. Now the 90-degree sears, they were fine. They're upgraded, they're steel, they were in one piece. But about half an inch or so backwards of the sears is another piece of metal that sits up and sits into the cylinder, and that had broke. That's what was rattling around in my cylinder and had dislodged everything. I'm thinking I need a new trigger box, you know, it's buggered, oh crap, something that small has completely and utterly naffed my gun up, and it's going to cost me an arm and a leg to try and get a new trigger box and all that. But, now, I'm going to say this now, thanks to the guys from Bespoke Airsoft, ihfy.com, and the guys that responded on the Facebook page for these, the Irish Striker Facebook page, they told me very quickly that that part that's broke, you should have really taken it out when I changed the 90-degree sears. It doesn't do anything. It's absolutely useless. The only thing it does is make it darn right difficult to push the cylinder back in when you're reinstalling everything. So I was like, well, do I need to replace it then? And they went, well, yeah, you can replace it. IHFY, I believe, said that they can send a replacement part out for it. But most people now take that part out when they change the 90 degree sears even. I didn't know about it. I just thought it was something that was integral to the gun. It now doesn't have that part because it's obviously broken. So yeah, I was able to breathe a sigh of relief. Don't need to buy anything just yet. So I thought, well, now the gun's apart, let's have a look at what the cylinder's like. So undid the cylinder head, pop the spring out, and the piston is chewed to hell. There's shavings of plastic all over the inside of the cylinder. I'm like, that's not nice, that's not right. So basically, this morning, just before I've done this video even, I've been cleaning everything up, various bits of tissues and screwdrivers. And oh yeah, PTFE tape, very important. So I basically stripped this cylinder down and I've cleaned it and I've lubed it and I've cleaned it and I've lubed it and I've got all the plastic shavings out. I've taken a look at the piston. It's basically some plastic surround that goes around the piston, and it's basically been shaved. Now I can only work out one way this has become shaved, because the cylinder sits only in one way. It can't really move too far. It's under tension. Even when it's fired, the spring is pushed the piston up, I do believe, and it's holding it in place. It's not loose. What I can think has happened is, as the cylinder head undid earlier yesterday morning and undid itself, it obviously then threading on the inside of the cylinder itself starts to become available, and as the piston is going up and down, it's scraping itself on the threading. Now that kind of did make sense, because what I was seeing on the inside of the thread was the fact that there was plastic shavings inside, embedded into the threading. So like I say, I've stripped it out, I've cleaned it, all the plastic shavings have gone, they're all over the table now, and I've looked at the piston. The O-ring's fine. The plastic is a little bit rough, but I've cleaned it, and I've checked that there's no cracks in it, there's no major damage, it's only like surface damage that's happened to it, and it seems to be holding for the moment. Taking a few test shots with it, and it seems to be working. So long term, yeah, I think I probably need to order a new piston just to be on the safe side, but at the moment it's firing. So yeah, I'll be doing some test shots later on with my chrono, just to check that everything really is okay. I'm hoping that the low FPS from yesterday morning, obviously like I say, was due to the cold weather, but also could have been due to the fact the cylinder head might have been coming undone. I don't know when that happened. So what I've done is I've PTFE taped the cylinder head. If it starts to come undone again, I am going to get some Loctite and just put a little dab on it here and there just to hold it in place. I can't really do that just yet because I'm not sure whether I'm going to end up changing the spring on this. You know, like I say, the spring could be fine. It was shooting a few days ago in my testing range about 470, 480 FPS on .2s, so there is room to improve on that. If it was able, this rifle's able to use .43s, then I can't remember off the top of my head what the limit of .43s are, but I was well underneath that. So there's always room for manoeuvre with this rifle. So yeah, at the moment, it is back to shooting, and I am still very impressed with it, I must admit. Like I say, big thanks to the guys who responded last night and calmed me down from worrying too much that I had to spend a lot more money trying to fix this thing. And thanks Aries for putting something in the gun that wasn't really necessary. I must admit though, it does make installing the cylinder so much easier. Now you just pull the trigger back slightly and you can just slide the cylinder straight in. It's just so much easier. So yeah, that bit's gone. That's an improvement really in my eyes. The next plans are, like I say, should this rifle survive its test shooting and whatnot, I'm going to get the scope put onto this and I'm going to go to a mate's house, a mate's place who has a range and a proper 100+ meter long range, and we're going to start shooting .43s, and I'm hoping to get that scope zeroed in. So that's my plans for the long term. So yeah, I'm CraftySniper, this is my Irish Striker. If you've got any questions, comments or anything about this Irish Striker, because I'm starting to see these come out now at airsoft sites, and you want to know what grades I've got in it, what order I put them in, how you install it, that kind of stuff, please ask me anything about these Irish Strikers. I am an avid supporter of these rifles. I still do think they have potential, and that's the word we're going with these rifles, potential. So yeah, got any comments, put them on the YouTube page, put them on the Facebook page, you know, all that kind of stuff. I'll answer any questions about airsoft or the Striker in general. So yes, I'm CraftySniper, and I will see you on the airsoft battlefield very, very soon.